Hello, my name is Georgina and I'm a Senior Student Recruitment Officer here at Keele University, and I'm pleased to be joined by Rob Stannard and Dr. Sophie Allen from the School of Social, Political and Global Studies. Within this session, we're going to be giving you an overview of our liberal arts and philosophy programmes and the opportunities that are available to our students. But before we get into the session, I'll hand over to the panel to introduce themselves. So over to you, Rob.
Hello everyone, my name is Rob Stannard and I'm the Programme Director for Liberal Arts. I'm a lecturer in education, but my background is actually in English literature and creative writing. And that's the main area of interest for me is creative practice and creative imaginative writing.
Brilliant, thanks Rob. And Sophie?
Hi, I'm Programme Director for Philosophy at Keele University. I've been at Keele since 2015. I'm mainly a philosopher of science and mind. And I also do metaphysics, which is really the study of what there is in the world. And so that's my main area of interest. But today I'm going to tell you a little bit about philosophy at Keele.
Brilliant. Thank you both so much. So Rob, if I could come to you first. Obviously, liberal arts generally isn't offered at A-level or any sort of pre-qualification than a degree. So for people who aren't familiar with a liberal arts programme, could you give us an idea on what actually is liberal arts and what does it include?
Of course, yeah, sure. Liberal arts is actually an interdisciplinary degree. And what that means is that you study things in the world and in the environment, but you look at that from an interdisciplinary perspective. So it draws on humanities subjects and social science subjects. And what you do in a liberal arts degree is you have core modules in liberal arts, which will explore the liberal arts way of thinking about the world and exploring the world. And as I said, that draws on lots of different disciplines. So it might draw on history and geography and English, politics, philosophy, pretty much everything in the Faculty of Humanities and Social Sciences as a way of thinking about things and a way of exploring the world. Beyond that, students on the liberal arts programme will be able to choose option modules, which are modules that are available from any of the degree programmes within the Faculty of Humanities and Social Science. So students can study a breadth of subjects, or they can concentrate in one or more particular areas. So it's a degree that suits people who have a broad interest and want to keep that kind of breadth of study, but people who are just really interested in the world, really interested in society, really interested in people.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you for that, Rob. And Sophie, coming to you, our philosophy programme, are you able to give us an overview and sort of perhaps the types of modules that students could expect to study?
Okay, the philosophy programme at Keele is quite varied. Okay. You can do philosophy in about 5 different combinations with other subjects if you want. So if you want to do a combined degree course, you can take philosophy with English literature or with mathematics or with politics or psychology and various other options. And we change these sometimes over time. So it's always good to check the prospectus in cases like this. But when you come to Keele, what you'll do is you'll do a mixture of modules. Some of them will deal with the history of philosophy. So what other philosophers have said. We'll be reading philosophy from the last 2,500 years, really. Wow. But also what we look at are contemporary philosophical problems. And we will ask you in both cases, we're actually interested in your kinds of take on the matter. So you do, as general philosophy modules, you might take, in your first year, you will take a couple of modules that give you a really good grounding in philosophy. So you don't need an A-level in philosophy to start at Keele University. We don't expect you to know anything before you arrive. But then you take some option modules. So you might take ancient philosophy, which is where we look at ancient philosophy from India and ancient Greece, and also early Buddhism. And also then you might look at sort of philosophy in film, or you'd have a choice of doing philosophy in environmental studies and things like that.
Yeah, brilliant. And Sophie, just staying with you, you've just obviously acknowledged that students at the moment don't have to have studied philosophy before they get to Keele for studying our degree programme. How can a student best prepare for our philosophy programme? Is there anything that they can be particularly reading or getting themselves involved in before they apply to sort of really strengthen their knowledge of philosophy?
There are some general books that they can read, which we're happy to recommend to people. So I think on our website, if you look on the website, there are actually some recommendations of specific books.
Okay.
But really, we're interested in someone with a general background who's just interested in sort of engaging with the world and asking questions about it. So we've had students who've come in who have philosophy A-level already, but also we have people coming from general humanities backgrounds with history or English. But also we have really very good students who've done science A-levels as well. So it's a real mixture of different people have been happy and successful when they've turned up to do philosophy at Keele.
Yeah, brilliant. And I'm sure that those different backgrounds really contribute to quite an interesting debate.
Definitely, yeah. It makes for really interesting conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. And Rob, coming to you, obviously, I'm sure sort of discussing key areas and that kind of thing is one of the main sort of learning methods within liberal arts. Would you perhaps talk us through sort of how else students are taught on the programme and the different methods that are used?
Indeed, yeah. Just to pick up on the previous question, though, the background for students on liberal arts programmes is pretty similar to philosophy. So it doesn't really matter what A-levels that you've done. You know, it's the same kind of range, which again, like philosophy, it leads to some very interesting discussions in liberal arts, because the liberal arts, there are lots of different ways that you learn in liberal arts. There are some traditional lectures, there are some traditional seminars, and some of those seminars are done in conjunction with natural sciences, because in liberal arts we have some core modules which are based around Keele's Grand Challenge lecture series. Now, these are lectures about big problems like climate change or sustainability or food security or the impact of artificial intelligence on kind of culture and society. So these are public lectures that anybody from the general public can come along to these, but liberal arts students also go to these lectures and study that as part of their core modules. So those are kind of interdisciplinary lectures that lead to interdisciplinary discussions between liberal arts students and natural science students, but also with their lecturers, because it's very much, as I said earlier, about an exploration of the world, and so it's something that we explore together. So there's a lot of discussion. There's a lot of opportunities to do research, your own independent search, and your own independent projects. But we also have something in liberal arts that we call living labs. And these are field trips where we take students out into the world, into the field, where students have the opportunity to apply the knowledge and skills that they've developed through the core modules to real world situations. So in the past, we've been to places like Ironbridge in Shropshire, we've been to Manchester, and more locally, we've been to the Wedgwood factory and museum, looking at the kind of the cultural, historical and industrial heritage that there is from that particular industry.
Brilliant. So it sounds like liberal arts students really do have the opportunity to hear from sort of experts in their field through the Grand Challenges lectures and learn about these real world problems and then apply them in practice.
Absolutely. That's exactly how it happens. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think obviously something that Keele tries to embed into all of its programmes is really preparing students for the world of work. And Rob, if I can just stay with you for a second, with liberal arts, what kind of careers do students tend to sort of go on to after? I'm sure it's very diverse due to the nature of the programme, but is there anything that sort of is sort of the key kind of career areas that you could?
I think any career that a humanities or social science degree would lead to. So that could, I mean, some students like to stay in education, either to continue with their studies or to train as teachers. Others might go and work for charities, or they might work in the arts or the media, in communication. Students might go into journalism. Some students might actually go into kind of business and become entrepreneurial, because the thing about a liberal arts degree is much more about who you become than what you know. It's about the skills that you develop. And what we found talking to employers is that employers are looking for graduates who are problem solvers, students, or graduates rather, who are good communicators, can work in a team, can work collaboratively, are critical thinkers, are creative and innovative. And a liberal arts degree produces graduates like that. So those are really, really useful skills that employers are looking for. So that it's quite broad, really, the range of career options that students have.
Yeah, brilliant. And Sophie, what about the philosophy programme, sort of careers, and also, if I can also ask you about how do we prepare them on the philosophy programme for the world of work as well?
Well, there are two things. So first of all, I can say that actually in philosophy it's very similar. The careers people go into are really similar to the ones that Rob's just talked about for liberal arts. Okay. So we have a wide range of people going into teaching, or in fact people join the police, so join graduate programs. But we've also had some people have retrained as medics or worked in charities. We've had somebody who was a pilot. We've had a lot of games designers and actually some kind of computer programmers, because the logic side of philosophy appeals to some people, and they get sort of very good at sort of programming and the basics of programming. But also some people, I mean, a lot of people go on and do further study, but they don't necessarily do further study in just philosophy. So artificial intelligence is one that's quite a lot of interest, or various kinds of psychology where people are mixing psychology with, so they've done a psychology and philosophy degree, but they're mixing philosophy in with their psychology in order to take that further. So we have a lot of people, sort of a lot of various different things that people have gone to do. I mean, when we're actually as part of the degree, we try to prepare people. I mean, a bit like liberal arts, we actually are training people to think and training people to take in information and to be able to process that information, but to do that critically. So people can be kind of to learn new things quickly, but they can also apply skills that they know, that they don't just blindly follow instructions. They can think about what they're doing and maybe formulate new ways. So again, business is a good place for that. So quite a few people have been quite successful in marketing and advertising. But what we do as part of the degree is the assessments. We have a wide range of different assessments, so that some of the modules will have assessments where people are being assessed on presentations, for instance. So you get a chance to sort of learn how to present your ideas and to produce things in a sort of user-friendly way, so you can explain things to people. We're just at the moment trialing a module where we've got people making videos as part of the assessment. Instead of writing an essay, we thought it would be interesting to see whether they could make a video about a philosophical problem, for instance. So we're interested in a wide range of different ways in which we can sort of build people up and make them ready for the world of work. But also, I mean, Keele University as a university does an awful lot of that as well. So people have the chance to do work experience, or they have the chance to study abroad as well. And that's really helpful for them.
Yeah, brilliant. I think you've both acknowledged something really important, that actually your degree doesn't necessarily tie you to a certain area or, you know, discipline for the rest of your life. The skills that you learn on these programs are so broad that they do prepare you for such a range of careers and different types of jobs and sectors. Rob, could I come back to you? Sophie touched on the assessment methods and the sorts. Is it similar in liberal arts? And also, if you could just expand on how students are supported, because obviously assessments might seem a little bit daunting to students who are, you know, currently sitting A-levels. So if you could just give us a bit of information about that.
Absolutely. Like philosophy, in liberal arts, there's a wide range of assessments. So it's not essays, although you may occasionally write something that looks like an essay, but there are no exams in liberal arts. It's all by coursework assessment, and it's a portfolio assessment, and there are lots of different things that go into that portfolio, and it's not all writing either. So you will have the opportunity to write in different genres and in a different media. So you might write reflective pieces, you might do some creative work, some creative writing, and that could be narrative, or it could be poetry, could be other things. But you might also make a vlog, one of the assessments that we have in the third year around grand challenges is, like Sophie was saying, for philosophy students doing a group presentation. Well, our students make a vlog. There are, you might do some blog writing. So there's a whole range of things that both individual and group assessments that you do. And there's also choice. In every core module for liberal arts, there is usually a choice of assessment. So there are a range of things that might go into your portfolio, but you would actually choose those in negotiation with your tutor. So George was asking about what support there is, that you're not just set an assignment and then just left to get on with it, that you would be, we'd give you help and support with that. So there'd be opportunities to discuss that with your fellow students and also with your tutors. And there's also the opportunity to hand in drafts of your work and to get feedback on that before you actually submit it for final assessment. So it's a supported process all the way through. You're never left on your own just to kind of manage. And the other thing is that because there are different elements to the assessments, and there are different ways that we get you to write and present what you know and what you've learned, that we'll give you help and support with those as well. So if it's a kind of writing that's unfamiliar to you, we'll give you workshops and help you develop those particular skills.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Rob. Thanks. And Sophie, at the start, you mentioned about the combined honours programmes that are available at Keele. Now, obviously, like you said, they do change from time to time. But do you think there's a particular benefit of doing a combined honours degree?
Well, I have sort of mixed feelings about it. I mean, to be honest, I think yes. I mean, personally, I think they're very, very good, in the sense that I think philosophy, in my subject particularly, philosophy combines really well with lots of different subjects that somebody from the outside might not really appreciate in the same kind of way. So people doing, say, philosophy and maths, there's actually a very close relationship between these two subjects and a shared history between these two subjects. And often people who were thinking of maybe doing a straight maths degree find themselves really interested in having a different sort of outlook on life and asking some questions and doing some sort of other things aside from just doing mathematics modules. So we have some interesting cases where people will sort of just generally take parts from different parts of their degree and develop it and be able to mix them together. I mean, and the same goes for, say, philosophy and psychology. That too is a great combination, because you can sort of really study the psychology, like psychology as a subject, but also in the philosophy part of it, you can ask sort of deep questions about what the mind is and what kind of things, how we should explain it, and whether we'll ever explain consciousness and things like this. And that's something that students, you know, really, really enjoy. So that it's that kind of mixture between the subjects works really well. I mean, that said, those people who are on single honours degrees at Keele get the chance to take electives anyway. So they get the chance to take elective modules and get to choose some modules that they want to do. So we've had single honours students taking everything from Japanese to creative writing to video making and so on. And quite often they come out at the end of their degree, they're quite, you know, some people are actually very good at, say, a language they chose in first year, for instance. And we've had people go off and, you know, live in Japan and get a job in Japan on the basis of the Japanese that they studied alongside the philosophy. So I think, yeah, I think there's something to be said for both single honours and combined honours, but both, it really, that does come down to personal choice. What kind of thing do you want to get out of your degree?
Yeah, brilliant. And I think what you've just highlighted is that there are so many opportunities, and that, you know, that students can tailor their degree, whether they're doing a combined honours or a single honours. There is opportunity to tailor it to sort of your interests or where you feel you particularly excel. So that's great. That's great. Thanks, Sophie. And Rob, Sophie touched on the study abroad programme that we kind of offer. Study abroad and learn a language are obviously things that we do offer for students. Are you able to possibly just talk us a brief overview of how they work, how they fit into our programmes?
Sure. I'll take the languages one first, because that's an option for students doing a liberal arts degree. And any student at Keele has the opportunity to take a language. to take it from scratch or to pick up from where they, the level that they come in on, and then take it further. So through options and electives, students doing a liberal arts program can do a language. There isn't a study abroad option for liberal arts because that tends to be a one semester placement. Yeah. And because of our core modules, which go over 2 semesters, the students can't do that. But what students can do is take the study year abroad, the international year. So that's between the 2nd and 3rd year. And that's open to all liberal arts students. And over the last couple of years, many of our students have actually done that and taken a whole year where they have studied abroad, and there's a wide range of countries that you can go to. So we've had students going to Southeast Asia, to sort of Taiwan and the Philippines. We've had other students who've gone to the United States and Canada. There are European options. So students can definitely take a language, and students can have that international year in between the 2nd and 3rd year if they want to exercise that option. And what they would do in that year abroad is continue to study modules that relate to liberal arts, but that's, as it is, for the degree at Keele, that's quite broad. So you could do humanities subjects, you could do another language, you could do social science subjects and topics as well.
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks, Rob. And Sophie, coming to you. Obviously, it's a real shame at the moment that we're not on Keele's 600-acre campus that we all obviously know and love. Have you got a particular thing about Keele's campus that you absolutely love? Your favourite thing, perhaps, about Keele's campus?
Oh, I love it. I mean, even though most of the students and people are not there at the moment, I've been teaching. So yeah. through the last semester, I've been in teaching. It's been very, very quiet, but it's been lovely to be back. I think the landscaping is beautiful, and the sort of range, the sort of countryside and the trees and so on. I mean, even just sitting in my office, I've got an amazing view, and there's just something calming about it. I mean, my students tell me that they make full use of the woods and the sort of walks and sitting outside and hanging out and things, as well as the student union as well and things like this. So no, I think there's lots to be said for Keele's campus. It's really quite special, I think.
Yeah, I definitely agree, Sophie. And what about you, Rob? Is there anything in particular that you love about Keele's campus?
Yeah, the same things. There are lots of trees, which are always very beautiful in the spring. Keele has a national collection of cherry trees, so there's always a lot of blossom in the springtime, which makes the campus really attractive. Keele Hall itself, which is a lovely building, and the grounds around that Sophie mentioned, there are lots of woodland and lakes for people to go for walks. It's a very self-contained campus, so you can kind of get lost in something that feels like the countryside if you want to, but there's also lots that you can do centrally. So the whole area around Union Square is really interesting. It's where the Students' Union is, the library is there. There's also a Keele Chapel if you wanted to make use of that, but there's also a central square where students can gather and various events go on there. There are also some shops, there are banking facilities. So that area right in the centre of Keele is always kind of a lively, dynamic place. So I think it's a campus of contrast, really. You can find a quiet place just to be on your own, or you can be, amongst lots of other people in a kind of a busy, dynamic, exciting place as well.
Yeah, I totally agree with everything you both said. I think one of my favourite things is that sort of old meets new. So we've obviously got sort of so much heritage on campus. You mentioned Keele Hall and the landscapes, but obviously we've got sort of really new sort of investment in terms of facilities and ongoing. Every time you go onto campus, there seems to be some sort of development that's going on. I think it's really refreshing to see. And despite being obviously so big, you never have to go too far to get to where you're going, like you say, Rob, with everything being right at the heart of campus. Brilliant. But that actually concludes today's session. So thank you very much for joining us, and also thank you to our panel for their insights into our liberal arts and philosophy programme. If you do have any questions at all or would like to learn more, then you can chat to our staff and students directly on our website via our UniBuddy platform. But thank you for joining us, and we hope to see you at Keele in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.